the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Hey everyone, welcome to Meanwhile Back at the Lab with Paximus. I hope you're having a wonderful day, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or in fact evening for some of you. I'm really glad you're here. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and our special guest, Evelyn Wong. We're going to go ahead and get into our conversation pretty soon. Just want to say hello to a couple people who have been patiently waiting. Thank you guys so much for waiting. We were having some technical difficulties, but I'm so glad that we're able to kind of still do this conversation. So really happy about that. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't done so already, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and that would actually be very helpful. And then let me know at the end of this podcast how you liked this conversation. So hopefully this is something that I can continue doing in the future. I'd love to have you be part of that. Just want to say hello to Pyra, I believe it is. Surfer, welcome. It's good to see you. Laura Chan, hello. It's good to see you as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and get into our conversation right now with none other than Evelyn Wong. And Evelyn, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well.
Good. It's good
I'm
to
glad
see you.
you invited me here.
Yeah, no, and again, thank you so much for being part of this podcast. And this is just a way for us to be able to kind of get to know you for a little bit. And there's only so much you can kind of ask questions about a person in a study stream for within the 10 minutes that a person has. So This gives us a little bit of a chance to get to know you about your channel, the things that you do on your channel. So with that, I would love for you to just kind of, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got into the whole YouTube experience.
Yeah, so I'm Evelyn. Um, I guess I am a study streamer and a medical student. So I'm in my third year of studying medicine. I make a lot of music as well. So my channel actually started with music stuff. I write songs, I make covers, and then I started coming across these really interesting study with me videos that really helped me as a medical student to focus.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I got inspired to stream. I guess by also watching other study streamers, and then it was in April, a month before my exams. Actually, I was like, oh, I'm studying like way more than last year, way more because probably because of COVID, also
Right.
because things got harder like in terms of academics. So I was like, why not just put a camera here? Also because I wanted to like grow my own community and support people as well through the same journeys. Um, yeah, and also improve my own study habits as well. So because of that, I guess I started streaming in around April time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, I have a lot of questions, but with those questions, I want to include the chat. I want to include the people who are watching right now. So for those of you who are watching, again, thank you so much for being here. If you have a question for Evelyn, what I'm actually going to do is take your questions and interweave them into the conversation. So I'll be kind of vetting through a little bit. And if you have any questions, please feel free to just put in big capital letters the question, put the word question and then whatever question you have. Yes, and you won't be banned for doing that. Just letting you know. But just now, out of my curiosity, like you said, you started out with music. Now, how long have you been doing music, and do you sing? Is that what you've been doing? Like, are you a singer songwriter?
Yeah, so I guess I am a singer songwriter. I don't um but I don't know, music has been like my I don't know, my first passion, I guess.
Mm,
Um so I didn't start doing singing songwriting stuff until high school. But before that I was all instrumental things. But I didn't put like yeah, so I only started because I started making my own songs and like doing covers of people's songs, putting them on YouTube, and then that was like very, I guess that satisfied me because there were people listening to them, and then I felt more motivated to make them. But yeah, that's how I started the channel itself, and I still do some some covers and songs now. So actually, just today, like we do like a point system on our stream, right? And then just today, it's like actually it was a couple weeks ago. Some like two people redeemed this like prize that they could redeem a song for me. So I wrote two songs for them. So I
wow,
just
that's
sang it during
awesome.
the live. Yeah, so it's quite fun being able to do this and having people actually listen to things that I
Hmm.
make now is yeah, it's crazy. So
Yeah, well, I mean, you definitely take pride in the work that you put together, but to have someone not only listen but appreciate it, I think goes, I mean that's just to say, how thankful you are, I think, but
mm.
so I'm kind of curious, real quick, like how important, now this might get pretty deep pretty fast, but how much does music play into your studies, if you know what I mean, like how do you use music as an outlet? Do you use it quite often to kind of avoid or to tackle your studies?
Well, yeah, I use them both for to avoid and to tackle, I guess. Sometimes, so I guess music is like a daily thing. So sometimes if I feel down, of course, like I listen to music, it's like so much better. I have
Mm-hmm.
like my favorite bands, favorite like music. But then also like as I study, like sometimes if I'm really, really tired or if I'm really bored, which happens very often, to be honest. Then I turn on some music and everything becomes better. So
Yeah.
um, that's what music means to me.
Yeah.
And making it as well as that's just like a hobby of mine.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. If
When
I'm
when
studying a
exactly
lot,
did
yeah.
you start like actually like do you play any instruments or do you mainly sing and do songwriting?
Yeah, so I started learning piano when I was 4,
Hmm.
and then and the flute when I was like 9.
Huh, me
And
too.
so I guess oh really?
Yeah.
The flute?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
great.
played the
Yeah.
flute and I like rocked it for a good 2 weeks. And then and then I was like, yeah, this is not for me. I need something else. And then like my dad, or no, it was my mom, put like drumsticks in my hands and finally I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah.
But it was about the same
No, I
time.
tried drums for 2 weeks. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
And we clearly switched and we are just
We
like,
switched. Yeah.
yes.
That's funny. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for us next week we're starting orchestra rehearsals again, so and amazing. Yeah. Hobby music as a hobby is great.
Yeah. We do have a question from Allison Trench. Allison, thank you so much for this question. What advice would you give to someone looking to enter the field of medicine?
Um so I think you have to be very, especially when you're in the like in the entering stage, so before you even apply to school.
Hmm.
Um you have to be very realistic about yourself but also aim high at the same time, which is really, and also realistic about yourself but also patient, I think.
Hmm.
So so when I went into it, I think I was very, I was like, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't get it. I don't, something else entirely. That's what I mean. Like an admission process. But I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Like nowadays, I have so many friends who are like graduates, or they take lots of like multiple gap years and
Hmm.
they get into medicine. So I think be realistic, but also have patience for yourself. Um, and then also, if you think you can aim really high, then go for it. Do everything you want. And like, um, how do you say? Mm, there's only so much you can do before you start medicine. So um, do as much as you can, and then everything is up to how they view you and judge you. And if you fail, it's okay to fail, because I think
Hmm.
everyone fails. Even like I know medical students who retake years over and over again, and they can still become a doctor.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it doesn't matter where you're doing your school. It doesn't matter which university you're in. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter how old you are. You can still achieve whatever you want to do. I feel like so.
Yeah, for sure. We have another question. It's from JT Mar Vlogs. JT, thank you so much for this question. Best type of music to study to besides lo-fi?
I know exactly the answer. So it has to be Ghibli, Studio Ghibli music. So
Okay.
there's this playlist I play
Uh-huh.
every single day. I can play it every single day before the exam, and it's like a 10-hour playlist thing on YouTube. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can find it, but it's basically just like looping Ghibli orchestra music,
Mm.
and yeah,
Well, I'm
it's
kind of
it's
curious
like
with orchestra
yeah,
music, like do you find that I've actually only talked with a couple people, right? And they've said that
right.
orchestra music has actually they feel has improved their like listening to it in the background has actually helped them improve in their studies. I almost want to say that's debatable, but but I figure like it has to help as long as there's no lyrics. I think that becomes like a I don't know. That's really difficult to concentrate on your studies when you're hearing words, like musical
Yeah.
words, even. So, like, what's your take on that? Like with classical music?
Um, so when I think of Ghibli music, it's not. I don't think of it like other classical music because it's like it's anime music, right? So, um, it's like for movies I already watched, and then it's like for a theme that I already know in my head. So it's
Uh-huh.
like a song to me almost, except it's like the
No,
background
but
music.
I
And
think I totally understand what you're saying.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so for me, I already know it very well, and then I want like my study environment to be like magical and romantic, like not really, but like I want to hype it up, I feel like, oh, really enjoying studying. So then like turning this on, it becomes like a magical environment where it's like it's almost like Disney, but it's music, and so it makes everything more exciting and enjoyable. I
Yeah,
think that's why I turned it on.
for sure. Yeah.
Not really like because it also helps me concentrate because I already know the songs. But yeah,
Well, I know for me, like when I listen to like music with lyrics, I get super distracted. But if it's instrumental music, especially music that I've heard before and it's on repeat, like it
mm,
actually does help me to stay
does
very
yeah.
focused. Um, but like if there's absolute silence, like there's a time and place for silence, don't get me wrong, and there's nothing against people who love silence, but it's just not for me. There has to be like a solitude, like silence and solitude is like a spiritual discipline, right? But I can't use that for education. I have to like have music in the background playing for some reason cuz otherwise I get distracted by my own thoughts, you know?
Makes sense. Yeah, I get those times too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Bunny Quinn has a question, and thank you, Bunny, for your question. How did you choose what to do in your life? Have you always had an idea of what you would like to be, or it came to you later?
Sorry, excuse me. Um, so that's a good question because it I have never known, or okay, I actually have known what I wanted to be, but many times. So I only decided to be a doctor pretty late in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I was younger, I think my first dream was to become a dolphin trainer. And then,
Nice,
and then
nice,
okay,
very
that's what
nice.
I was like a child, And then I wanted to be a musician, which is like much more like me. I feel like I want to be like a conductor of an orchestra,
Oh,
and
nice.
then in the middle of that, I wanted to be a writer for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wanted to be um, a music producer. And then in between, I think I also kind of liked chemistry for a bit, but now I don't like chemistry at all. And then
You got
yeah,
enough of a taste of chemistry, and you're like, okay, no, we're not
yeah,
doing that.
no, yeah. So I only knew really late that I wanted to be a doctor. So it was a bit challenging for me to catch up to everyone else who knew like when from the very start. Um, but yeah, was the question also asking like how I came to know
Yeah, so
kind
have
of?
you always had an idea of what you would like to be, or did it come later? And I think the other part was,
Yeah.
how did you choose what to do in your life?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so how did I choose? I think for me, one thing that I really like doing is studying. So I know it's like why would you like studying? But I like pursuing knowledge. Like it's always continuing. I like discovering new things, doing things my own way. Um, I mean, not really doing things my own way, but like discovering how I study. I don't know why that's
Nice.
like enjoyable to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I was to spend my whole life making music, I would probably like get bored of it really quickly, or think of this because I think of music more like a hobby. So
Hmm.
I feel like I'm not like motivated in the music aspect enough to make it like a career.
Mm.
Which like yeah, if like people who are like they must be really like they're really talented.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I chose something that is more um, like fits my own personality more.
Mm.
Something I want to do in the long term because medicine is like continual learning, never ending, and I think I like that part of it.
Mm. I see.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, and just to take a pause from the questions, we'll get to your question chat in just a second. But now I'm kind of curious how maybe even in this last year, and I've asked this in previous podcasts, from other study streamers, but I'm kind of curious on your take with, like, for instance, being in isolation essentially for a whole year, with, the pandemic and all that stuff. Could you kind of tell us a little bit about the mental health? I don't know how important that is to you at the forefront, but like, how do you view mental health, and like, how has music played a role with that?
Yeah. I think about it quite a lot. Mainly because of like different friends, also like talking with friends about it. Also because I'm a medical student, so I talk about it all the time, or think about it, or study about it.
Yeah.
Um, so especially over the past year or two that we had this pandemic, there's so much problems with mental health. Like
Mm-hmm.
people aren't being supported correctly. Yeah, many incidents where like bad things happen just because like people have poor mental health, and like it's not being like corrected or improved.
Mm-hmm.
Not corrected, like improved, and treated.
Yeah.
Um, so so I think it's a huge problem, and I think for myself, I think isolation actually hasn't impacted me too much, because I think for myself, I'm a person who likes being alone and doing my own thing at home.
Yeah.
So I think that was not too bad on my part, but I understand like a lot of people had like did not have an experience like mine. So I think um, actually, this I didn't start with the stream first. We started actually on the Discord. So we made a group
Oh,
together
okay.
on Discord, and
Mm-hmm.
we studied together on Discord. And so that's how the Discord came along. It was like before the stream was started. So I think that really helps to bring people who like studying together, or not like studying, has to study together, and so we can support each other. And then and then I'm like, okay, like maybe doing a stream would be cool, because then people could be there live and more people could join.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that brought more conversations on mental health as well, because then
Yeah.
people could talk about like what their struggles are in real time, and we could talk about it in real time.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. And I'm
and
pretty
I could
sure that
understand what
that's
it's
like
like for
a
other
hot
people as well.
issue, for the time that you were streaming. I'm pretty sure that that
Yeah,
was an issue ongoing for sure.
yeah, for sure. Like, um, yeah, I think it's really courageous for people to like talk about it. Um, so I think I really respect people to be able to come out of their comfort zone and like talk to us about it, because then it brings up the topic, and then we can like make it more open and like talk about things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now I believe it's Pyra. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Pyra, thank you for your question. The question is, what's the longest study session you've ever had, and why did you do it?
um, I think the longest session I've ever done was like 15 hours.
Oh my
It was.
gosh, that's
I
incredible.
don't know if that's, don't some people like stream for 15 hours or something like that. But I think I did that once. Um, why did I do it? It was probably like really near exam time. I
Mm,
wasn't too stressed though, because if it was really near, I usually sleep a lot more. I like write my hands like a week before the exam. But I think the 15-hour thing was probably because I was really into what I was studying, and I was like, I can't get my head around it.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
and then I have to figure it out before I sleep. Yeah. It's
Right,
mostly because like
and
of
most
that.
likely have to figure it out before your exam, because that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
You need to be able to pass the thing. So, and I figured, like, with, even if it was maybe before like the exam, and you could have done it on like crunch time, or you could have planned it out a certain way, but like 15 hours, it does sound like a lot. It really does. Especially to people who are brand new to the study stream experience. Like some people can't even fathom the idea of studying for more than a couple of hours. But that kind of leads me to a particular question that I think and we kind of touched on before we went live, and I really would love to hear more on your thoughts on kind of the medical field, your experience in it. But what I've noticed in the medical field, at least with medical students, is that they tend to want to, or not, maybe not want to, but they tend to have to study for really long hours because of the amount of information that they need to learn. Now, from an educational standpoint, you and I talked briefly about it's hard for me to fathom someone doing like 12 to 15 hours per day, like every day. That's quite a bit. So I'm kind of curious to know like what your thoughts are on that, just in general, like what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so just to make it clear a bit, I don't really do 10 to 12 to 15 hours now because I realize that it's not very good on my mental health and my health. So that's one of the reasons do the stream. I feel like the stream is helpful to me is because I can limit my studying to 10 hours.
Hmm.
So that helps a bit. But anyway, so honestly, coming into medicine, I thought it would be a lot work. And it is a lot of work. But I think what the workload is dependent on how you make of it, right? So or how you make of what you need to study. So people can. I'm not sure how it works in different countries, but in the UK, as long as you pass, then you can become a doctor. And so you don't actually have to be have to put so much time into it. Like even if you're not like a genius, you don't have to put so much time into it
Mm-hmm.
to pass and become a doctor. So it depends on what you want for your own life and what you want for like what are your what are you aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like usually people who maybe study more are people who maybe are aiming higher for themselves or having a certain goal. So for myself, I'm actually so I do have goals for myself. Like I want to like have this kind of grade. Obviously, it doesn't really matter in the long term. Like no one will be like, "Oh my gosh, you got an honors for this exam," but like it's for myself.
Yeah.
And then also, secondly, I'm actually studying for an exam that's like to let me like try to apply to work in the U.S.
Oh,
So the
okay.
U.S. MLE. I'm sure you've
Mm-hmm.
heard of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also studying for that. I don't know if I'm going to the U.S., but like studying for it right now is like super helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
So because I have multiple things that I want to aim for, I think that's the reason why I want to put more time into it and effort into aiming higher. So I don't think it's like necessary to do how many hours like a day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just to tick the boxes that you need to pass, and then whatever left is whatever you want for yourself.
Right.
Because I think that medical knowledge or knowledge in general, or like just medicine in general, there's like an infinite amount of things you can learn. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
learn everything to your standard for yourself, like for example, like I want to be like really amazing at like this subject, then
Mm-hmm.
it would probably take me more than 15 hours a day, right? To
Yeah.
learn everything.
Right.
Then you have to limit yourself and be healthy as well
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime and like do just enough to like make yourself happy. Um, yeah, that's how I view it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I limit myself to 10 hours. Um, yeah, I think so. That's what it is.
Yeah, and for instance, me, the amount of hours that I put in for like let's say the credential program that I'm part of, it's just a very different experience of learning information. So you're processing data, you're learning brand new things, but the understanding of it all, I feel is in some way, shape, or form perhaps easier than the medical field. And lately, I've been having such an interest in the medical field, mainly because I come from a perspective where, like, more than 6 hours of study is actually too much. That's just kind of the way that the, if you will, the educational community looks at it, because, and there's been so many different studies on the mental health and the physical health, that kind of is in jeopardy when you do that for so long. You start to either gain weight because you're sitting for many, hours. You start to also have headaches, and you start to have a lot of just like, I guess, internal issues that you probably don't even pay attention to because you're, hitting the grind. You're grinding, and you're trying to, study as much as possible so that you're prepared for your test. And I mean that, no system, in my opinion, for education is perfect, but I've noticed that with education, or with medical students, like, I've been told that it's not always an option. It's not always an option for them to limit, to 6 hours or less. Sometimes they have to push to like 12 hours or 15 hours because of the enormous amount of learning that they have to do. So, and I've tried to figure out, like, what is the good compromise, if that makes sense, because I'm trying to basically learn what is healthy. At what point is a healthy dosage of, this is how much I need to do for today and then move on, versus I need to do this, let's say, for 30 days, 15 hours a day, like, in the process, have like
Hmm.
these issues come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've actually thought about that a bit while I started this stream as well, because I know like I'm doing 10 hours, and like some people in the chat will be like, oh, I'll try to stay for the whole thing. And then I always say, like, you don't have to, like, if you don't need to, please don't be here. Like,
Right.
enjoy your day.
Hmm.
Like, I'm a firm believer that, like, if you don't need to do something and you don't want to, don't do it. Like,
Right.
do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't do, you're right, like I wouldn't do um this many hours if I didn't need to,
Hmm.
um or if I didn't want to. So but about like the 6 hours thing, I really think that 6 hours would definitely not be enough.
Hmm.
So just from a point of view, for like a medic, for me, as like in general, for me, and that's because it maybe takes me a couple days to understand. Like,
Hmm.
I know maybe I'm like not that like bright or something. It takes me a couple of days to understand a topic I've never learned before.
Uh-huh.
So if I only take 6 hours a day, um, it doesn't let me learn enough by the end of the week.
Mm.
Um, so I think that's the reason why I do more than 6 hours.
Hmm.
Um, and for like the impact on mental health and your health, I think it's a big problem though, because right now I'm not be having really healthy habits.
Mm.
I'm not really taking care of my health as well as much as I like to be.
Hmm.
It was better like a month ago, but then now that I've moved, I haven't been doing anything to take care of myself for like, yeah. So I always admit it to everyone, like I'm like, oh my god, I only slept like 4 hours last night, you know. So I always I tell people how bad things are, because I feel like then you can like talk about it and share how bad things are. But it's a journey. Like every
Hmm.
day you struggle and you like work hard to become a better version of yourself.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just a struggle, but at least there's people struggling with you.
Well, yeah, and
um
you don't feel so alone in the journey, and there, and
yeah.
I'm kind of curious for you, like, I'm pretty sure that there's been many times where you've had to explain just in your chat, like, today, I really hope that you're able to accomplish all the goals that you set out to accomplish. And when you get all these different questions from, the people who are on your channel, I'm sure that they're asking you, like, for tips and methods and approaches. So I'm kind of curious to know the same thing from you. Like, what's your study approach or your study methods that you feel really works for you, really works best for you?
So I have like a coherent answer that I put in my description.
Mm,
So what it is for me, number one is taking care of yourself first. I know I don't do this well, but that's what I'm aiming to do, and that's what I hope for everyone to be able to take care of themselves first.
mm-hmm,
So that's it's not study first, it's not your goals first, it's you first, I think. And then after that, if you're like comfortable, if you feel like you can do it, and then going on to what I think is really important for starting your studying, which is planning. So I put like really huge emphasis on planning all the time. Um, I always like to think about what I need to achieve by maybe my achievement is like in 2 years I have this exam, which is true. Like maybe I want to take this exam in 2 years. That's not really planning, right? So I have to break it down into like months and then slowly into weeks and then days. And then I have this like hourly planner. So I do every hour what I want to do.
mm-hmm.
And it helps me to keep on track what I did yesterday, what I did like the week before, but also like what I want to achieve in the next few minutes. And then I'll be like, oh, I finished this, but I haven't done this yet, so I'll move this to the next day. So I'm really structured in that way,
Mm,
um, so that I keep track of how I'm doing.
mm-hmm.
I think that's really important for me. I'm not sure if it works for other people because some people I know aren't as like planning people,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think that's a great tip for people who want to get more organized in their studying and understand how they're using their time, how to maximize your time.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like just trying to be as focused as you can, and then achieving the things that you wanted to write down. But also like double checking yourself, like, am I good right now? Do I need a
Mm.
break? Things like that. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's really important. You brought up a good point. Like, it's taking an inventory of yourself, and I think many students, myself included, we tend to not want to focus on that. We focus more on the reward or the incentive of being able to accomplish all the goals that we want to, without kind of checking in like, oh, am I doing okay? Like, am I like, really, am I doing okay? Or do I need to take a break? Or do I need to readjust or check my planner, or you know put a new agenda for tomorrow, get it ready for tomorrow. Like, just being able to take an inventory of yourself really does help, to
Mm.
kind of plan things out. I love the fact that you said that you're also a planner now, coming from a perspective, because we all learn differently. We're not all the same, but
Yeah.
there are similarities, between like the human condition. And I think just a good overall tip, that you provided was, be a planner, basically. Like, plan things out, because when things don't go according to plan, you carry that over to the next day.
Mm.
And then you won't have to stress so much about the next day. You can just kind of focus on what's at hand, what's in front of you, and things like that. And I think that's really helpful, especially being in the medical field. I think because it's a long journey of being able to learn more and more and more, you're not going to accomplish, or should I say, you're not going to be able to learn everything there is to know about the medical field,
Hmm.
in just, one season. Like, this is a lifelong journey, and which I think you said is kind of like the major appeal for you, being able to keep learning and studying. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're an introvert. So,
I
I could be wrong.
am.
I mean, I usually have a pretty good gauge of, like, whether a person's introverted or extroverted, but it has nothing to do with like if they're excited or anything like that. It's just more like
It really
their
isn't.
their quirks.
Yeah. I can
Yeah,
be the most excited person, but still an introvert.
yeah. See,
That's probably me.
I love that. That's so good. But you know what? And so here's what I wanted to kind of, because we're talking about the medical profession. Like, you're in your fifth year. I think
Third
you
third
mentioned.
year.
Oh, third year. I
Third year.
apologize. So at
No
this
worries.
point, what have you kind of learned along the way that you maybe wish you knew before going into the medical field, that you can offer to the people who are watching?
Um, so some background. Um, Second year was the year that I realized how to study. I was like, wow, mind blowing.
Okay, so tip number
Yeah,
one, learn how to study. Noted.
learn how to study. Yeah, so what happened in first year? I don't even know what happened in first year, right? So I just studied in really bad habits, really bad ways. I didn't like did like the most ineffective, inefficient way to study something. Um, but I think one thing that's really has helped me, or not helped me, but like I feel like looking back, what is a good advice is like be productively lazy. What that means is like don't make everything your own, like from scratch. Don't do everything from the beginning. Take advice from others, take notes from other people, take use textbooks and then just annotate at the side. Like be as lazy as you can because you want to do everything in the least amount of time as you can but still have the same results.
Hmm.
Um, which is really a really like weird. I couldn't get my head around it at first in first year because I wanted to do really random things. Like I wanted to draw out my anatomy. I wanted to like sketch things. I wanted to make labels and like make my notes pretty. But now well, all of that is gone. I didn't get it into my brain, you know. So I think a big tip is to be productively lazy. um,
Interesting. That's a new concept for me because I haven't really gauged that as much, but that's an interesting concept.
And the reason is because you have so little time to understand what you want to understand. And so going quickly at a good pace and also taking advice and um, notes from other people is so important.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. And another thing as well is I realized that I had actually now that I've done that, I actually have time to do other things. So
Mm.
exploring things like research, learning about your what you want to do as a career, or like
Mm.
watching a lot of different webinars, exploring like different fields of medicine, doing societies, these kind of things. They wrap your career together and make you feel like you're doing something for the longer term.
Hmm.
I think that's something that makes medicine more enjoyable for me because now I know, okay, like I want to be involved in these things, and then this enhances my learning experience as well. So I think like get involved if you were a medical student, get involved with things that aren't just school. Um, I think it'll make your experience much better.
Hmm. And
Um,
and along with that, like so, with medical school, um, now correct me if I'm wrong. Is it like a 5 year journey or is it a 6 year journey?
yeah, 5 year for me. There are some schools that are 6 years, but
Now, and does that depend on the area of concentration? Like, have you actually figured out where you want to concentrate on, or is that something that's still ongoing?
yeah, you only need to like choose way later after you graduate and
Oh,
become a
I
doctor.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does it work exactly? Like once you graduate, do you look for like I think it's called residency, right? Is that correct?
Residency is what they call it in the US. But here you have like 2 years of a type of internship thing, but you rotate around different specialties, I
Okay.
think. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so you don't really choose anything yet. And then after that, you apply to more like broader training or the training path you want to go to. So you
Mm-hmm.
can be either specific or you can be broad after
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, yeah, so you can really choose later, like much later on.
Now, I'm kind of curious because, and for those of you who are still with us, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. Just put all caps the word question and then your question, and then I'll interweave it into our our discussion. But now I'm kind of curious, just kind of going back to the music because I know that that is something that that's kind of what's unique about your live stream, which, believe it or not, I've been on your live stream a couple times. Yeah, especially when we first met, which was a few months ago, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, thanks for coming on it. It was
Oh yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
it's quite a like it's quite of a bit of a shock to some people because I'm actively looking for people to so that we can kind of stay more connected. But along with that, I noticed that you do like covers throughout your like break time, or you'll play a song and sing to it. Now, how often? And you mentioned that you use like kind of I don't know if it's through donations where you're able to like create a song for someone, but when you do it live, how much is the experience allow you to kind of like refocus into your studies? Because maybe is it freeing, or does it actually expend your energy a little bit more when you're live streaming?
Do you mean the music?
Yeah, like the music aspect of it. Like, do you feel like when you're doing it during the break, is that like more energy that you feel like you have to give out throughout your live stream, or do you feel like that actually gives you energy to like keep going into your studies?
Ah, okay. So in the past, we did this thing where every single day in the week we had different types of music.
Mm,
So that was cool for a while. But we stopped doing that and we had ambient sounds only.
mm-hmm,
And actually, this was the first time we did singing during the break because it was like it was like we have this point system where like if you watch for how many hours you get like or how many minutes you get like a certain number of points.
mm-hmm.
And so like it was really cheap before and then many people were able to redeem it, I guess. And then so yeah, we had two songs today. But that was the first time we had the singing during breaks. But before I actually did like a whole 2 hour was it 1 hour, 2 hour karaoke stream
Oh,
after
fun.
the study stream,
Mm-hmm.
and then so we just sang to covers and also original songs.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and that was really fun. So I think the music doesn't really distract away from it, but it's like a I think it's a entertaining way to make it more interesting. I think.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I mean I would even argue that that's like one of the unique things and enjoyable things from your live stream is that people get to kind of listen to music, listen to you do what you enjoy doing, especially being able, I think, to use your creative side a little bit kind of does help in the process of going back to your studies. I would assume, just because, like, I know that when I listen to music, I definitely get inspired or creative. But when I go back to studying, especially depending on what I'm studying, it tends to be a little bit monotonous and kind of tiresome. So like having
Hmm.
a like a musical break really does kind of just get me back in the mood of like, oh yeah, it's go time. I can do this. I got another 50 minutes on the clock. Let's do or a Pomodoro of 50 minutes or whatever. Which by the way, do you incorporate like a Pomodoro, or is it like a free, you know, time type of thing?
Yeah, we do Pomodoro. We do 50-10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just enough so we can like do what we need to and then come back and have a chat and then go back to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think
yeah,
breaks are like my highlights of the day. Like if we didn't have breaks, I would be kind of really sad.
yeah. I think I
It's really
would be
nice to
sad too.
speak
Just
to
to like
people. Yeah.
study all the time with no breaks and no interaction, I would quickly
Yeah.
bow out because that's not how I
Yeah.
work. We do
Yeah.
have a question from none other than Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, welcome back. It's good to see you. The question is, what are your views on toxic positivity? Interesting.
Yeah. So the term itself, I'm actually not super duper familiar with because I haven't watched like the videos on it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it's probably real. Like whatever it's about, I think it's probably real. And um, I know that sometimes seeing other people, like even if it's not on YouTube streaming, even
Mm.
if you're on Instagram or some sort of social media, if you see someone doing something that's like really like cool or like they're like having their life together, then you feel a little bit like, oh, like I should be doing that too, or
Right.
either that or like, why the heck are they doing that? Like I feel bad and I don't want to look at it, and then just like, so
Yeah.
I think there's always some sort of um, it's gonna be a little bit unavoidable um, because it doesn't have to be related to like how long you study or how much you study. It can also just be like because you study and then I have to watch you now, and then it feels maybe toxic. I don't know. I'm not really sure what this term completely means,
Hmm.
but okay, maybe in terms of like long hours, um, I do think that um, study streamers, or I think myself,
Hmm.
I have a responsibility, or not responsibility, but I feel obliged to take care, or not take care. Why am I saying these things?
You're
I
like,
feel
wait,
obliged.
porch farce words. Let me try that again.
Yeah, let me try that again. I feel obliged to make sure people on my stream are doing well. So I don't want people to be like, I want to be studying just because I want to be productive.
Hmm.
So every time that comes up, I kind of like be like, oh, so do you need to, like, do you want to? And then instead of, oh, like being productive is the end goal, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of highlight that a little bit. I hope I don't make that something that seems like an end goal for my streams.
Mm.
Um, that's kind of why I have like a kind of description, the
Oh
that
yeah,
kind
in
of,
the description. Yeah.
yeah, and
Hmm.
also like in my, I don't know if anyone saw, but like in my biography part of the channel, I kind of say, oh, whatever we do, or whatever I do, and other people on the stream do, you really don't have to do.
Mm. It's
Like,
kind of like your disclaimer, just letting people
yeah,
know that this is the way that I approach studying, and it's
yeah,
not
exactly.
necessarily what you have to do to be successful.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Hmm.
Obviously, they won't be here if they don't want to be. But
Right.
like, what I mean is, don't look at me as like the person who's um, the way you want to study. So don't look at me as um, your target of studying,
Hmm.
but know yourself and do what you think is best for yourself. I think.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, like, and just kind of spitballing a little bit, but like the toxic positivity idea to me, and I could be wrong, Brad Pitt. So, like, if you want, you can push back on this, but I think the idea is to ultimately, like, the term I've heard many times is like grind, or let's keep going until like we're tired. But no matter what, we're going to be positive the whole way through. And I'm personally not that way. I don't think that way. I think, like, no, if I don't feel good and I got a bad grade on like an exam or something, I'm gonna feel the way that I feel, which I don't feel good about, getting a low score on something, but I'm gonna be positive, like, I think to a certain extent, I think the positivity mindset helps you to move forward. But I don't think it's necessarily like, pushing yourself to the limit and saying, like, no matter how dire things get, I'm just gonna keep going. And I think when you have to, like what you said, Evelyn, is like, take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And I think by doing so, you have to just be realistic and say, like, okay, I need a break, or I need to take some time to focus on something else and not my studies, because that's going to cause me to, well, as I have mentioned before in different case studies, it leads to mental health issues, physical ailments, things like that. So I would just particularly say, for on my part, you know I think being mindful and being positive, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. I think they're
Yeah.
wonderful things that you should always have uh towards anything that you work on. But I think it's okay to be a human being and feel certain things, and not feel okay with something that you may have failed. You just, have a good cry, eat some Haagen-Dazs and then carry on, like move on to the next day and then just tackle it a new day, and I think that's for me. I guess that's how I would view like like the toxic positivity issue, but I could be wrong. Brad Pitt
Yeah.
was saying, um, oh, the question is, how do you? Oh, sorry, I didn't listen. I didn't put it up. How do you
But let
stop
me just add
yourself?
something maybe to that part. I
Yeah,
think
go
like I
ahead.
didn't know that it was about like the grinding part or the positivity. But I think like it's interesting because my view on it is that the grinding kind of mindset, like we'll just go until we're tired and then we'll still be positive. That mindset may work for some people, but
Mm,
I know that so many people struggle with it, and it's okay to struggle with it. Like
yeah,
especially it's like really really bad for your mental health to think that way. I think, especially for people who already have mental health issues,
yeah,
think
yeah.
trying to think like that will push you in the opposite direction maybe for
Hmm.
some people. And I know from personal experience as well, like um, that if I try to push a lot like someone in like I don't know, like just encourage, not encourage, but like push someone in that kind of grinding mindset, it
Hmm.
actually like is not is counterproductive um, for some people.
Hmm.
So I think like um, being understanding of that, and also like knowing that like that doesn't mean that that makes someone less productive that they don't do it. Just they
Totally.
have their own way of doing it. So
Uh-huh.
letting people choose how to tackle their own problems or their challenges, I
Yeah.
think that's really important.
Yeah, no, I would
Yeah.
agree too. Just, like
Hmm.
like I mentioned, for me that clearly is not something that I do or believe in. That is something that I'm like, no, if after 6 hours, I think I'm just gonna call it quits. And don't get me wrong, like on my study channel, or on this channel in particular, like I've done, 11 to 12 hour study streams. So it's not like I'm like completely foreign to the idea of doing that. I just don't think it's necessary, and it also depends on the area of interest or the area of your subject, because like for
Hmm.
instance with education, I think coming from an educational standpoint, you can definitely get by studying 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and then having the weekend to yourself. You can do
Hmm.
that and still succeed. The medical field, from what I've heard from listening to you and your experiences and others that I've talked with, it is a different kind of beast because lives are depending on you. It's a very nerve-wracking and very stressful environment to be part of, but some people love it and thrive on it because of the the I would say the intrinsic reward that they get, which is to save lives. It's to be there for people who are not feeling well, who are sick, who are maybe going through a really dark and deep, depression or whatever, or physical ailment. And I think that's why, like for especially in the last couple years, I've kind of opened my eyes a little bit more to the people in the medical field because of the fact that they really step up and do the hard work that a lot of people don't want to do. So, I mean, I have a new found, look on the medical field, essentially. Oh,
Yeah, being in just my third year, I don't really have that enough of that feeling yet, I think. So going into it, I think I'll get more into what I actually is my motivation behind
yeah,
um like because I feel like right now I don't have enough experience, so I don't know what it's like. Because I haven't actually gone to the hospital and done like placements or whatever.
right, right.
So yeah, in years to come, I think I will know better, like
Hmm.
the deep down motivation. So
Yeah,
yeah, thanks for saying that.
yeah. No, and but like I said, I definitely admire the fact that you're in this field because this field is what I mentioned before, and I think your interest in it is also like the lifelong journey of learning, and I admire that. I admire that about you, and the fact that you also kind of take it upon yourself to want to learn more new things, and in your own words, learn it your own way. And I think that is helpful to you to be able to learn something the way it's supposed to be, kind of, if you will, on a plate, and then kind of looking at it from a different angle, a different perspective. I think that's where your creative side comes in and perhaps might actually help you in the medical field. It really could. So I think it's wonderful that you have that musical gift and talent, and that you use it also, towards your medical, career or future. I think that's awesome. Um, so Brad Pitt had a question, and I was going to ask this: how do you stop yourself from self sabotaging when your day is wasted due to some reasons? That's a interesting question. Thanks, Brad Pitt.
When you think about this one,
I mean, it's a pretty in depth question.
um, I think the reason why I have to think about it a bit is because it's been the summer and I've been going really easy on myself.
Hey, and that's
um,
okay.
and so yeah, that's okay. Um, but I think like when it was when I first started, and then I think like I wasted quite a lot of time in the beginning because I would just start streaming and it was all like very new, and I was like thinking about like, did I do well, like what am I doing, things like that, and it was already like a month towards the exam, so then I was quite stressed already,
Hmm.
and then I didn't. I guess I wasted some time setting up the stream, or it's not really like a waste, but like I guess also like monitoring it all the time
Right,
because I wasn't used to it.
right,
So I guess that um, my feelings then, I'm a kind of person who doesn't really like go too hard on myself if something fails,
mm,
unless it's a major thing. But to me, it's not too much of an issue, so I don't think about it too much. But I do know that it's an issue for a lot of people. Um, yeah, I think knowing that if I did my best, then like I don't think about it. But then if I didn't do my best and there's something I did that was that caused this to happen, then I'll like break it down and be like, oh, why did that happen? And
mm,
then think about how that can be improved the next day, or
yeah,
but let myself be loose for a bit. Um, yeah.
yeah. Pyra does have a question. What are your most and least favorite parts of streaming on YouTube? Thanks, Pyra, for your question, or streaming in general. I believe.
Hmm. Um, Most favorite part is definitely being able to meet the people on the stream and the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the community is the most amazing part, because people are coming and they're studying, doing the same thing alongside you, but then through a screen and then across the world, and it's just like an amazing thing. And then we can talk about like what things we like. So I realize a lot of us like food, and then a lot of us like anime,
Yeah.
and so we just talk about things that are common to us, and then like we talk about culture as well because there's a lot of like Asian people and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like different cultures. Um, so just the community is amazing, and it's like always fun to be on stream. So like even if I'm having a really bad day, I come on stream, and then there's like great times. It just like makes my mood better.
Mm-hmm.
And then so worst thing I think is because I feel a sort of responsibility or a sort of obligation to stay on the stream for the however amount of time that I've set myself to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel obligated to also um, do the same things every day. So as in like to have to wake up at a certain time and then have to end a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes that can be really really draining. I said it's good for me for my habits, but especially in the summer because I've been much more looser on myself. And like and last week I think I was kind of sick, so then like sometimes having to do that, um, like of course I care about like I take care of myself, but then it's still a bit tiring even if you do take care of yourself or try to. Um, so
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's draining and tiring. But then during the break, it suddenly becomes amazing, and then like during the 15 minutes, it becomes tiring again. So that's that's kind of constant cycle. I think the way to tackle it for myself is to just improve my life outside of stream as well. Like I need to take care of myself, as in like do exercise, have good food, sleep at the right times, you know. So it's not really something that's because of the stream. I think it's also because I haven't been working on it myself,
Mm.
and I need, yeah. So I would say, yeah, it's great. Um, I just need to work on myself a bit more.
Yeah, and I'm actually with you on that. Like the idea, and we'll kind of wrap up with this thought, but like the idea of being able to know that there's an outside world, being able to go outside, connect with other people outside if you can, being able to exercise is really important. But one of the most important things is, and you and we both agree, is sleep. Like if you have the chance to sleep, you need to sleep, right? But we don't always even take our own advice, especially as study streamers. Like we're working so hard and we're trying to also host and maintain a study stream and then do our studies on the side. Sometimes like we want to decompress a different way. And I know I do this all the time. Like once I'm done with like a 10-hour or 12-hour stream, which isn't regular for me. But when I do that, I tend to like want some downtime. And my way of downtime is like connecting with my family, talking with my family. But if they're not up because it's late, I like play video games or I like play music because I love playing music as well. So,
Mhm.
it's an outlet for me. But by the time I know it, it's like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, oh my
Exactly.
gosh, what
There's
did
not
I
enough
just tell
time.
everybody?
There's always not enough time in the day. Like,
Right?
um,
Right?
it's never enough.
Yeah.
Especially when you just want to, you feel like you just started relaxing, and then it's like, oh, it's bedtime, or else I'll be too late, like for the morning to start stream, and then I'll be like, ah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. Well, Evelyn,
yeah,
I want to thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed getting to know you and just kind of learning more about your journey through the medical, area, the medical, if you will, journey that you're on. And for those of you who are in the chat, thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome to be able to connect with you, and hopefully Evelyn, maybe in the future we can do another collab or something down the road. I would really enjoy it, and not to put you on the spot, but I would just throw that out there and say thank you so much for doing this and being able to connect with us today.
thank you so much for having me. It's been really interesting conversation and really easy going and really prepared on your part.
Cool.
So amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And, we are going to go ahead and wrap things up. If you haven't done so already, I would really love for you guys to hit that subscribe button and the like button. But also, please don't forget to check out Evelyn's information, which is in the description below. If you haven't done so already, please go check out her channel and subscribe to her channel, like her videos, get to know her more through like the Pomodoro breaks and things like that. And hopefully in the future you'll be able to come back and have another conversation with us. We're going to be meeting up with Study with Kate, who is a study streamer from Belgium. So I'm really looking forward to having a conversation with her next Wednesday at 11 a.m. GMT -8. But remember, until the next time, remember, be kind and rewind. Have a good one. Hadouken!